I'm Bored Badger, and this is Talltanic, and here's another video for you today.
Well, what do we have here? A whole bunch of crazy things in people's houses, that's what. There are some cool, interesting finds on this list. There are also stomach-churning, creepy things to be had. It's time to get on with it already. Enjoy our list of weirdest things people have found in their homes. Number 14. Holy Herring. Back in 2007, developers remodeling a home in New York's Tribeca neighborhood knocked down a wall and found something surprising. An original Keith Haring mural painted when the house was a gallery space for the School of Visual Arts. Painted in 1978, Haring used alcohol and shoe polish to complete the extensive piece. The home is listed on the National Register of Historic Places and has a price tag of $14 million. Just $13.9 million out of my price range. Number 13. Safe of Surprises. Sometime in 2015, a Phoenix couple decided to make some renovations to their house and found a 50-year-old safe hidden inside one of their walls. When they first moved in, they found a safe code in the back of their medicine cabinet, but didn't know where to use it for some time. Once they stumbled across the safe, they knew just what to do. After a few attempts, they were able to crack it open and marveled at what they had found inside. $51,080, an old bottle of bourbon, and a book titled A Guide for the Perplexed that seemed to contain clues to some kind of treasure hunt. But that's of yet unconfirmed. They're unsure what to do with the cash, but they'll say that if they ever find Alan, a man referenced in a note in the book, they'll hand it over to him. They did state that they'll be keeping the bourbon though. What a perplexing mystery. Hey, I'm an Alan? I'm an Alan. Number 12. Van Gogh, uh-oh. A painting by the famous Van Gogh named Sunset at Mount Jamor, Sunset at Mount Major, Sunset at Mont Jamor, Sunset at Mount Major. I give up. Was believed to be fake and spent years collecting dust in an attic in Norway. The museum that now houses the authentic painting once rejected it in the 1990s themselves, believing it was a forgery. It turns out the art is the real deal and is backed by a letter Van Gogh sent to his brother describing it. Through the letter, they even know the exact day it was painted way back on July 4th, 1888. It is also the first full-size painting done by the man, the myth, the legend since 1928. We'd be willing to bet that the museum directors feel like real jackwagons. If Van Gogh were here, they'd probably get a real detached earful, huh? Number 11. Sleeping on a Monopoly. Nyland Newell, a man living in Fresno, California, pulled up his carpet around 2010 and found a surprisingly risque and massive version of the ever-popular board game. Newell moved into the house in 2003 and for years had no idea that he was spending every night sleeping on top of nude women. Not like that, but the image is on the board, dirty birds. Nyland had a dream. He wanted to create giant Monopoly pieces to play on his newfound board. And we don't blame him, because who wouldn't dream of doing that? In the end, his wife made him paint over it. Way to ruin all the fun. I mean, yes, that was an excellent idea, Mrs. Newell. Number 10. Surprise. A man and his wife, Archie and Philippa Graham Palmer, discovered an old abandoned kitchen hidden in their basement. The home had been passed down through their family for years and years, and when the couple moved in, they decided to explore and came across the kitchen where time has stood still for over 100 years. A spit for roasting pigs, benches, pots, pans, and cooking utensils of all sorts were left untouched, hanging nearly ready to be used to prepare a meal. Can you imagine the ghosts in that place? Don't let that little Haley Joel Osment get anywhere near that basement. He'd probably be in for a psychotic break after that. Number 9. What the figurine? For nearly 70 years, a small figurine of a Russian Tsar Nicholas II sat in the attic of an upstate New York home. A man named George Davis purchased it in 1934 for $2,250, and it was all but forgotten about. That is until Davis left this mortal coil and his descendants stumbled across it in their home. With only 50 in existence, the figurine was enormously rare and brought in a whopping $5.2 million at auction. Number 8. Archaeological awesomeness. A couple who purchased a plot of land in the 1970s to build their home on discovered some intriguing antiques buried just beneath the ground. Treasures including a bronze keyring, arrowheads, water cistern, inkwell and pens, and burial chambers, all dated to at least 2,000 years old. After digging for 18 years, they turned the lower level of the home into a museum for people to visit and see some of the treasures they found. Best hope no poltergeist-like stuff starts happening. Number 7. Ready for anything. Imagine the fear you feel buying a home for the first time. Now imagine pairing that with the strange feeling you'd get when you move into that new house and find a whole arsenal of guns, ammunition, and even an old hand grenade. Not to mention, he found it all in a hidden room under the stairs that was blocked by a piece of plywood. He also found a bunch of random pre-1980s pennies, which are made of real copper and will still be worth something even if the dollar ever loses its value. What strange things to find in your first house. We'd be willing to bet he'll make a fortune selling all of those guns and that surplus of ammunition. That is, if they don't get confiscated. Number 6. Oh well. Colin and Vanessa Steer moved into their house in Plymouth, Devon 24 years before opening a well they found in their living room, as you can see in this picture. They lived over the creepy thing for 2 decades before inspecting it up and finding out what it was. That just sounds like they were asking for a little girl to crawl up out of their floor in the middle of the night. It turns out that the well dates back to at least the 16th century, and when Mr. Steer dug only 5 feet into it, he found an old medieval sword. He's since installed lighting inside and a trap door to cover the top, and says he loves having a piece of Plymouth's history right in his own living room. Be careful of ghosts. Number 5. Many a mural. A Guatemalan family decided it was time to replace the plaster in their home, and when the homeowner, Lucas Asicona Ramirez, did so, he found a bunch of ancient Mayan murals hidden on the walls. His house in Cajul contained murals that were said to possibly represent a so-called conquest dance. Sadly, the paintings began to fade immediately from exposure to the air, and archaeologists were forced to work quickly to uncover the meanings. Can you even imagine finding a bunch of old artwork in your home? It'd sure save you from having to spend a chunk of money at Hobby Lobby and Home Goods. Oh, I love those places. Number 4. Briefcase Bounty. Ayo, Cleveland. A couple who moved into their house in 2016 found quite the fantastic thing stuffed up in the ceiling of their basement. A 1950s briefcase packed with $23,000. Sheesh! The old bills, 20s, 50s, and 100s, were wrapped in wax paper alongside a newspaper dated March 25, 1951. They contacted their lawyer to see if they're able to keep the money, and they say that, if given the green light, they will use it towards paying off their mortgage. Number 3. Irish Dungeon. A Reddit user from Ireland recently moved into an apartment in Leamington Spa, and got a little more than what was specified in the lease. A dungeon beneath his floorboards that contains a few passageways and rooms. What a weird thing to find underneath where you have to sleep at night. Hopefully the dungeon isn't haunted and no one else has access to that place. Number 2. Yeah, no. A Good Friday celebration led the Farla family into inebriation and the discovery of an old chapel just through a metal grate on their floor. They found a fallen wooden cross sitting in the center of the room, and when most would have left and found themselves rebaptized, the finders stayed and explored onward. They found a chest full of bottles and newspapers that dated back to the 1930s. They then found a staircase that led up into the back of a cupboard in their living room. The family says that they believe that they might have released a ghost or a spirit when they made the discovery, as when they went back upstairs, they took a picture of the son's pregnant girlfriend, and an orb appeared on her stomach in the photograph. Good luck with that. Hope he's a friendly ghost. Number 1. Snakes in Idaho. Ben and Amber Sessions, a couple from Idaho, purchased their dream home for only $180,000 in 2009, but soon after found out that their dream was, in fact, a motor funky nightmare. It is said that the ground surrounding the home would move and pulse at times, and that they weren't sure why, but they soon found out that the house was infested with garter snakes, and that's where I would have been like, peace out. The family had to eat out a lot because their water tasted like the muck that snakes release when they feel threatened, and Ben had to do daily sweeps of the house every morning to make sure that there were no snakes inside. They eventually moved out in 2009, and it's been speculated that the home was built on top of a winter snake sanctuary, like a snake den. Anyways, the house hasn't sold since, and it was featured on Discovery Channel's Infested series, so it's unlikely that it will ever sell again. Where was Samuel L. Jackson when these people needed him? He'd have that place whipped into shape in no time. Sheesh!
Thanks for watching. Leave a comment, subscribe, check out my channel. See you next week.